Mindful Life Practice community.
All right. So hi, everyone. Welcome to our hour-long yin practice. I must give a disclaimer. I went into work for the first time in months, and I brought in my tripod so I could film for my students, and then I forgot my tripod at work. My phone is just propped up on my table right now, but my cat really likes to be involved, and so I'm hoping she doesn't kick it over. But if she does, I apologize in advance. She appears to have settled in a spot, so I think we're good. All right, so we're going to come into a seated meditation. I love this whole yoga on Zoom thing because right before this class, I had a bubble bath, and then I was like, should I put my yoga clothes back on? I'm just going to put on my pajamas. And I'm really grateful to have this opportunity where we can all kind of practice in our homes and kind of be dressed in whatever way suits us. And yeah, it's super nice rather than having to commute to a studio. So take your time right now to arrive. And in this arrival, maybe setting the intention that I will try to keep my mind in the now. I will try to be here now. I will devote my attention to each posture I'm in right now. Be okay with your mind if it refuses to cooperate. Staying with it, and as you do so, maybe lighten up. Just setting an intention to let go of any frustration and judgment, and just do the best you can. Inhaling here. And then exhaling now. Inhaling here. Exhaling now. Inhaling here. Exhaling now. If you have any specific other intention, whether it's to get a good stretch or to de-stress or to unwind, identify and establish that now. And then before we drop into the stillness of our yin tonight, we're going to do a little bit of moving meditation. So let's take a breath in. We're going to circle our arms up towards the sky. And then exhale your palms, press them together as they pass through your heart center. And then interlace your palms, push them down towards the base of your belly. And then inhale, reach your arms up towards the sky. And then we'll do a few more just like this, exhaling the palms through heart center. And then inhaling them all the way up. Take a few more rounds. And then take one more. Reach your arms up overhead, inhale. And then you're going to take your hands all the way over towards the right. Stretching and breathing into the left side body. Inhale, lift all the way up through center. And then stretch the opposite way. Lift all the way up, release your fingers, reach through the fingertips, breath in. And then exhale, take it into a twist. You're gonna land your left palm onto your right knee and tuck your right fingertips behind you and then gaze over the right shoulder. Inhale, come all the way back up through center. And then twist the opposite way. And take a breath in, arms reach up towards the sky. Exhale your palms into your heart center. And then let your palms land on your lap. And you're just gonna drop your right earlobe down towards your left shoulder. Sorry, your right shoulder. Take your right palm and land your right palm on the side of your head. So we're gonna stay here for maybe a minute and a half. So not quite yin poses we hold for about 3 to 5 minutes, but we'll be here for a while. My teacher, Rolf, he says that there is clarity in contrast. And how does it feel contrasting the movement with stillness? We're going to stay on this side for 5 more breaths. And then land your right palm on your leg. And then lift your head all the way up through center and feel the clarity and contrast as you let go of the pose and you take neutral. Feel the clarity and contrast between the left side traps muscle and the right side. Have you created space? Take one more breath. And then drop your left earlobe down towards your left shoulder. Take your left palm all the way up. Holding your left palm on your right side. And then feeling into this stretch. So when I first became a yoga teacher, I will never forget the day that I attended a class where we held this stretch. And it brought me to tears. I was sitting in the class crying. Because I didn't know how many years of stress I had carried in this particular part of the body. Stay here for 5 more breaths. And lift your head all the way back up through center. Just take stillness in neutral. And then drop your chin towards your chest and then just draw some little half circles. And then bring your head all the way back up through center. We're going to come into our first yin pose. So often the first pose I like to do is a vilasana, a child's pose. So you might like to have a pillow, or if you have a bolster underneath you. I'm just going to bring my mat closer. I don't need to be so far away. And you'll place that pillow or that bolster on your mat, and you'll have your knees wide. And then you'll slowly just walk your body forward. And then you can lay one cheek on the mat. Knowing that we will be in this pose for between 3 to 5 minutes. So set yourself up so you can be as comfortable as possible. As comfortable as you can in this discomfort. So this whole thing about clarity and contrasts. I was thinking a lot about it today as I went for a walk. My life before coronavirus, I never had time to go for a walk. I left my house for work at 6:30 in the morning. I ended work at 3:30 p.m. After work, I either went to the gym to teach a yoga class, or I went to someone's house to teach a private yoga class, or I went tutoring, or I went, where else did I go? I guess that was mostly it. Went to the choir. And I would be out of my apartment from 6:30 in the morning until sometimes even 9 p.m. at night. I didn't have time to cook. I didn't have time to do the laundry. And I definitely did not have time to go for a walk. If you have your cheek on one side, you're just gonna flip it to the other side. Anyway, this afternoon when I went for my walk, I was walking along the island where I live. And I think this almost every single day that I walk. I think, how is it possible that I lived here for 3 years and I never went out for walks here? My island is full of canals, like little rivers with bridges, and you can see the sunset, and there's bike tracks. There's no cars driving by, very few cars driving by. It is so unbelievably beautiful. And how is it possible that I lived my life never appreciating this? Never creating the time to slow down and enjoy it. And sometimes the clarity of extremeness really allows you to see it. Right? When everything first closed, it was traumatic for me, and I kind of spiraled into anxiety and depression. And then I was able to step back and be like, wait a second, I was going so fast before. And this is the world showing me that it's time to slow down. Clarity in contrast. I'm going to take 5 more breaths. And then slowly start to peel your way up. And between every yin pose, I like to do a little rebound. So maybe you just come into crisscross. This is an opportunity for you to allow that posture to kind of soak in. To feel the effects and to feel the benefits from it. And when you're ready, you're going to come all the way up to stand. And so the next pose that we're going to take is a forward fold. And I'm going to, often in classes, I'll tell people to have like blocks and a bolster and they can dangle on it. Obviously we all don't have yoga props at home, so you can always just support yourself on a piece of furniture. Or if you're comfortable dangling freely, just like kind of feel it out, being mindful of the fact that we will be here for 3 to 5 minutes. So what's really important in Yin Yoga is to find a variation for you that is sustainable for a while. Right? The goal is to come to your personal edge. Commit to stillness. And stay a while. So I posted on Instagram something this week about this whole idea of learning how to stay in discomfort through yoga. One of the things that we learn from our yoga postures is how to be okay in discomfort. Right, I was walking down the street in Abu Dhabi this weekend and it was 41 degrees and I was wearing my mask. And I was like, okay, this is summer 2020. And it's interesting that I'm just accepting this reality. I'm not angry, I'm not upset, I'm just embracing and accepting it. It's not what I planned to be doing this summer. It's not what I hoped to be doing this summer. But I am here now. This is reality. There's nothing I can change about that. The amazing thing is that it's forced me to slow down. Right? What had I planned for this summer? I was supposed to be flying to the Philippines this weekend, visiting my friend's home country. Then I was flying to my best friend's wedding in Vancouver. Then I was going to see my family in Toronto. It was so go, go, go. And the universe has instead put me here still, now. And it might be uncomfortable, but I'm learning to sit with the discomfort. Right? And that's what we learn from yoga, is how to be in the discomfort and manage it. Now we're going to stay for 3 more breaths. And then can you release the grip of your palms? And then slowly, slowly roll each and every vertebrae one at a time all the way up until your shoulders stack all the way and your arms relax. Inhale here. Exhale now. There is clarity in contrast, and feel the difference between the forward fold and your body in neutral. What has shifted and what has moved? And let's take 3 more breaths. And then we're going to come into 2 hip opening poses tonight. Hips are my favorite thing to do in yin. So the first pose we're going to take is called lizard pose, which is dragon in yoga, in yin, sorry. You're going to come all the way down onto your mat, and then you're going to take a big step forward with your right foot. So your right foot is outside of your palms, and you're on the left knee, and being aware that you will be here for a while. So if you need to cushion your knee, if you need to support yourself, go ahead. And now either staying on the palms or maybe coming down onto the elbows. Again, checking in with yourself. Is this sustainable? Can I hold this long term? And if it's not, know that you can back off. You're not committed to the variation that you chose. You're not married to it. But once you find the position that's right for you, you have to try and stay. Breathing deep breaths as best you can. Using those deep breaths to get into the present moment as best you can. And one more variation or option for you. If you do want to kick it into a quad stretch, you're going to kick your left foot back and see if you can grab hold of your left foot with your right hand. Checking how that feels for your kneecap. We have 2 whole minutes here. Can you stay with this pose? Can you differentiate between discomfort and pain? And if it's a little bit of discomfort, then remind yourself that you got this. And if it is pain, then tell yourself it's okay and it's important to back off. One more minute. got this. You got it. Slowly come all the way up and release. Nice work. Let's move into our rebound pose. So you can take seated, you can lie down. It's going to be 1 minute of whatever. Take one more breath. And come all the way back. All right, pose number 2. We're going to take it on the right side as well. So we're going to come into pigeon or sleeping swan. So you're going to step your right foot forward, lay your right shin across the width of the mat, slide your left knee back in space. And then you might need to support yourself. If your right hip is like high up in the air, you can put a cushion underneath. Or you might be good like this. I'm going to have a cushion underneath my body. And then slowly lower all the way down. So this is a pose, or this is a part of the body where we hold a lot of our stress. And it can be really, really uncomfortable. To hold this pose and to stay here for a long period of time. Can't tell you how many people have cried in my class doing this pose. It is totally normal. So if anything is coming up for you, just allow it to come up. Acknowledging it. Allowing it to be there. Almost like meeting it and looking at it in the eye. Instead of being fearful of it. Instead of avoiding it. Stay here for 1 more minute. And slowly make your way up. And then I'm going to suggest you roll onto your right hip. And then between sides, we're going to come all the way onto our backs and almost take like a mini shavasana. So we have stretched into the inner and the outer groin of the right hip. And we've stretched into the quad of the left leg. And in this pose, I want you to examine the difference between your right and your left side. Clarity and contrast. Take one more round of breath. Then we'll make our way up and we're gonna take the poses on the opposite side. So the first one we're gonna take is our lizard, stepping your left foot all the way forward. And then decide if you wanna be on the palms. Decide if you wanna be on the elbows. We will be here for 1 minute and then we will take it into our twists. So clarity and contrast. The largest way I've experienced this in my life was when I quit drinking alcohol. Right? The difference between a life of hangovers and the difference between waking up feeling alive. It's extremely monumental. If you want to take it into a twist, you're going to reach your left hand back, grabbing hold of your right foot. I think we all can find ways to tie ourselves to habits or to stories that really don't serve us. And it's when we finally break through these patterns and when we find a way to release, it's when we feel that contrast and we find that clarity we've been looking for. Just here for 1 more minute. You have got this. You're not going to be here forever. This pose will pass. This quarantine will pass. You have got this. Breathe. Take one more breath. Release your right foot, coming all the way up. Just sit back. Giving yourself one moment. And then coming all the way up. Take one more shape, just the last one, pigeon. Left leg comes all the way forward. You slide your right knee back, bringing your body all the way forward. There was a clarity and contrast in the different moves I've made around the world. I grew up in a very beautiful neighborhood in Toronto. When I moved to Kuwait at age 23, I moved into probably the worst or the hardest neighborhood to live in the country. I lived amongst migrant workers or migrant laborers who were living, 10 to 15 men from India or Pakistan in one single apartment, and they worked on construction sites and in gas stations and wherever around the country. And though this was the hardest 2 years of my life and probably the reason why I developed drinking problems, there was a clarity and contrast in that, right? I wouldn't have learned as much as I did about life and the world had I stayed in that beautiful neighborhood in Toronto for the rest of my life. Seeing those contrasts makes you appreciate when you have it good. Right? When I walk down the street and I see the sunset and the water, I'm like, this is a contrast and this is beautiful. And then it also gives you almost an appreciation and a gratitude for all of the good things you have. There's been something powerful happening in that neighborhood right now. They are protesting because these poor men have been now hungry for 4 months unpaid. And it's 45 or 50 degrees Celsius in Kuwait. And they're protesting on the street. And it's important to note that protesting in Kuwait is illegal. And these men are uprising with signs that say workers are not slaves. And I keep sharing it on Instagram because I feel connected to these people. These people were my neighbors for 2 years. And I did not like living in that neighborhood, but it opened me up to the realities of life around the world and how lucky I was to have what I had. I would never ever want to move back there again, but I'm so grateful for that contrast and what it taught me. We're going to take 5 more breaths here. And then this time we're going to roll up onto our left bottom, wiggling all the way out. Stretching out, just feel the clarity and contrast. And then we're going to come together in a seated meditation just for a moment. And I'm going to invite you to place the heels of your hands together and your pinky fingers and your thumbs. And then open the rest of your fingers like a lotus flower. This is a mudra connected to abundance. With this in mind, maybe bringing 3 things to your attention at this moment that you are grateful for. I'm grateful for this opportunity for us to practice yoga together. And I'm grateful for being lucky to have a job, a roof over my head. So what abundance do you have in your life? What can you be thankful for? And then when you're ready, releasing that and choosing how you want to take your final resting pose. So you might stay in your meditation, you might come all the way down onto your back. Whatever posture you finish this practice in, the intention is for it to be a container. It's like a container to hold you as you process this experience, as you embed it within you, as you integrate it. And as you prepare to carry it with you, beyond your mat. So rest into your stillness and rest into your silence. Just knowing that I'll bring you back when the time is up. Your fingers and your toes a little wiggle. If you are in seated, just stay in seated. And if you're on your back, start to stretch and slowly make your way up to join us. Bringing your palms to connect at the center of your heart. Lengthening up through the spine and then softening the shoulders. We close with an intention. It's an ancient intention, but perhaps the original intention. that our yoga practice remains steady, that our efforts remain continuous, that our yoga practice serves and benefits all beings everywhere. May all beings be safe, be happy, be healthy, and be free. And may the thoughts and actions of each of our lives contribute towards this. So we will seal with an Om if you want to join inhaling, exhaling, and then inhaling through to make the Om. So taking a big breath in, big breath out, big breath in. Thank you for sharing the space and the practice. Om Shanti Shanti, peace, namaste.
The Mindful Life Practice Community.